Sisyphus and Tantalus, two of our earliest examples of perseverance and torture. Sisyphus, his plight was to daily roll a boulder up a mountain and to get it over the mountain. But every day that he rolled that boulder up the mountain, soon as he got close to the top, it would slip from his grasp and roll back down the mountain. Day after day, Sisyphus's plight was to get that boulder up the mountain. Tantalus, both thirsty and hungry, stood in a pool of water beneath low-hanging grapes. Every time he reached for a grape to eat, the water would rise. And every time he reached to the water to drink, it would recede and the grapes would lower. Two tortured souls, possibly never rewarded, but still persevered, still carried on. And here more recently, in Steve McQueen and Brad Pitt's film, 12 Years a Slave, which tells the story of Solomon Northup, a free man who was tricked and sold into slavery. For 12 years, he worked, was beaten, and tortured, both mentally, psychologically, and emotionally, until his free man status was revealed. All of these examples are individuals who fought on, who carried on despite their obstacles, despite difficulties, despite failure, despite opposition, and most importantly, despite an experience, despite a blueprint, if you will, of how to overcome a situation. My name is Kamau Stanford, and today I want to talk about this notion of nature versus nurture as it relates to perseverance. Are we born with it, or is it instilled within us? What happens when 8 adults from single-parent households, born to teenage mothers, from the ghetto, and are poor? No. 20 degrees, 9 bachelor degrees, 9 master's degrees, and 2 doctoral degrees. 5 degrees from the University of Pennsylvania. This is my family. My wife, the education consultant. My aunt, the IT director. My cousin, the energy CEO. The life coach, the judge, the CPA. My grandmother, Dr. H. Ahada Stanford, who had my mother at 13, has 2 MBAs and her PhD from Wharton. We're going to come back to this slide. What usually happens when a single 14-year-old teenage mother with 2 children by the time she's 18, living in the ghetto, and poor? No. My mother in the background there what normally happens? Welfare, dependency, dysfunction, prison, dropouts? No. My mother, in the background, graduated college with 2 kids in her 20s. I put an asterisk next to 2 because she had another child at 16 that was born premature and passed away. My sister, there in the front, is the first African-American female pediatric surgeon educated and trained in the United States. I went on to Howard University undergrad and law school. Between you and me, I never graduated from law school. We'll come back to that too. So one might think, obviously, perseverance must be genetic. Look at this family. It's genetic. But then there's my wife, who grew up in a very similar and a mirrored background. Single-parent household, born to a teenage mother, living in the ghetto, and poor. Yet my wife is only one of 3 of her siblings with a college degree, and the only one to receive a professional degree. So, are we born with perseverance or not? I don't know. And we're not going to solve it here today. But let's assume that everyone is born with just a kernel of perseverance, a seed. Let's then ask ourselves, how can we get people to fight on despite the difficulties, despite the opposition, despite the lack of experience? Essentially, how do we get people to persevere? Be the model. Hard work pays off, period. To this day, I'm so fascinated when I learned how muscles are formed. You guys know how muscles are formed? Essentially, muscles are formed by doing something strenuous, something taxing on your body. And your muscles literally tear. New muscle growth grows over it, almost like a scab. But muscles never grow if you don't do something difficult. If you never do something difficult, you never move on. Be fearless. Be strong. Stop accepting can't as an answer. Stop letting people quit. I can remember my mom would always tell us, can't, no, and don't are not in your vocabulary. We had it tough growing up. Lastly, believe in someone. You see, people need someone to believe in them so they know how it feels when they need to believe in themselves. Be naked. Not now. But be naked. Stop lying. You don't know everything, and you know it. Deal with and talk about your insecurities, your fears, your failures, just as much as you celebrate your successes. It gives people the okay, the green light, if you will, to know that it's okay. Be honest and truthful. As I told you, I never graduated from law school. Many may think that that's failure. Many have and probably still do believe that. But I think we need to redefine success and failure. And you needn't go any further than anyone who has achieved what we call success and ask them how many times did they fail. Many would be shocked to find out that in fact, failure is a significant part of success. We used to call it science, but that's another talk, another day. We must build trusting environments, reserve judgment, and encourage people to share openly. I dropped out of law school after my second year, and I got into education. That was 12 years ago, and I've never looked back. My life is daily enriched by the children and families who allow me to be a part of their lives. If this is failure, I'll take a double. Encourage and correct. Push forward. Encourage people to practice and scrimmage. They say practice builds confidence. Encourage practices and scrimmages so you can strengthen where you're weak and build upon where you are strong. Kind of like the proverbial sharpening of your sword. And be there when people fall, not fail, because failure is not an option. Lastly, become a cheerleader. Be that ultimate fan. In football, the crowd is known as the 12th man on the field. Home court or home field is known as an advantage. Be a cheerleader. Be there for someone unconditionally, 100%. Because people need people in their corners. I think it's so interesting that Sisyphus and Tantalus never succeeded, never got the rock over the mountain, and never drank or ate the fruit. Maybe because they never got help. Maybe because they thought they had to do it alone. I don't know if we're born with perseverance or not. But I think if we are the model, if we are naked, your favorite, if we encourage and correct, if we become that ultimate fan, that cheerleader, that we can germinate the seeds of perseverance. You see, perseverance is so personal. It forces us to experience the entire range of the human experience, from joy to despair. It's about tapping into your inner self and not quitting, not accepting failure. It's about being the sole controller of your life. It's about personally creating an expectation of success. Thank you.